While women's masculinity has increased because a lot of males slipping back into a more feminine nature, it becomes more difficult to recognize a woman's readiness for you to make the move. Many men actually find it difficult. Utilizing this and discover they possess a really difficult period in relation to recognizing a woman's desire to have them after you've determined which indicators are the most crucial thing to consider will be considerably simpler to choose when to take the action to avoid wasting your time. It is advised that you watch this video through to the finish to learn when. In the end, a woman is ready to notice indicators prior to delving into the individual indications that you must retain one item in. Keep in mind that a single symbol could be strong, yet it can also be deceptive. Frequently, it is preferable that you search for a blend of various indications to confirm that you determine whether she wishes to sleep with you or not. When looking for these different indications that one is frequently as a good rule of thumb, followed by another thumb, you ought to try to find at least a minimum of 3 to 5 of these indications before deciding to continue forward. But some ladies may just offer you as soon as you see these indicators that you're going to kick yourself and observe how frequently you may have allowed something will undoubtedly sneak past your. Let's get into the first one. Hands. Delicate art of touch, possibly one of the most crucial items that males frequently. I don't realize how strong touch is. Maybe because women are frequently targeted by period. People frequently examine oneself before doing any action that would appear to be a sign, indicating that they won't simply approach a dude and make contact because giving the incorrect signals, but touching is quite strong. And anytime a woman begins to make contact with you, she is most likely open to having with you. Now remember that not all touch and occasionally an embrace are the same, could simply be her nature. Friendly, you must learn how to examine the circumstances, and while touch by itself has great force when it's paired with items like as amiable signals and even some suitable body language, it becomes an obvious indication. But we will examine how to read her body language a bit later to allow you to be careful not to misinterpret the circumstance under which a lady will touch a man's hands in general and the back of her neck as well while she's activated. In fact, this is precisely how a lady desires to be caressed. When things begin, women often mimic what they desire to have themselves done on the man in the hopes that he will be intelligent enough to recognize the clues. When she first begins, number 2 flirts attempting to flirt with you, it should be distant, more obvious indication that she wants to be with. As you can see, the contemporary society has created, in order for a decent woman to merely flirt with a man she desires to date, you will come across women that are naturally flirty personalities, and this could have a significant turn-on for men, yet they're not interested in. Anything that you should think about is that despite the fact that, generally speaking, women behave somewhat similarly to one another, is heavily reliant on their life encounter as well as when she's had some negative. Along with flirting, she usually be a bit more taciturn throughout the board, since flirting is now once more a mix of different activities. You must grow bored of this and discover how to go over the problem again. But in general, flirting is a good thing. That progress is being made slowly in the guidance that you might find useful. It will be the 3rd one-on-one date. The rationale behind our decision to not place her extending an invitation to visit as a sign, because the real world requires women to wait for a male to approach you this time, indicates that she will typically not, unless you've already been invited her over. But there was another option, is that she may organize and perhaps make a proposal. Dates. You must realize that ladies having so many choices that they hardly ever must sit there and determine how to go on a date with a man. In reality, they let the boys ask them out on dates a lot. Anytime she is attracted to a man who doesn't ask, some other guy will take her out on a date. for her this time. So any time a woman genuinely arranges and suggests a date with you, can be certain she's prepared if you examine the circumstances from her perspective. You'll see that she's probably turned down a few men and decided that you alone are deserving of this date. Does not imply that you should simply step up and anticipate that she will have another encounter with you. This is among the indicators, and when along with a number of indicators that you'll see a rise in your success at figuring out when she's prepared to. Something about her friends approving. The fourth push is to sleep with you. The push-pull technique deserves a place on our list in particular. Considering that women are primarily, this implies that passive-aggressive beings, that they hardly often, if at all, just decide on the straightforward strategy, and infrequently, they will make an inference in the hopes that you now have a lot of women will give off a signal, followed by retreat. But this is the moment when men pursue further, and they frequently result in death. The established attraction between the two, whether you observe or playing these kinds of games, you ought to just let be, and you'll observe a trend of how she tries to push and pull all the time, if you see her playing on a regular basis. These games, it's a clear indication of attraction, and you'll soon discover that she is indeed intrigued. Simply make sure you avoid falling into her trap. Fear being deceived, since this may result in lots of annoyance. You'll believe she desires you, but she has already observed that you were displaying some weakness numbers. 5. Your jokes always make her laugh. Regardless of how skilled you are with ladies in jokes won't be understood by everyone. Wonderful sense of humor, and in many situations women may simply dismiss a few of your gags to simply demonstrate that she doesn't give a damn. When she begins to laugh at all of your jokes, indicates that she has acquired a certain amount of regard for you. The ensuing adulation indicates that she presently see you as the individual she want to be with, which is why she continues to giggling every time you tell a joke. Additionally, this will require time to comprehend, and it delves much more, taking into account the kinds of jokes you create, provided you adhere to the guidelines of a perform as a stand-up comedian and create daily jokes that are likely to make most people laugh. However, you need to do a more thorough test, and on a more intimate level, if you are able to. Tell a few jokes that frequently come up, appear offensive, or possess a meaning that you will be able to discover. You can tell if she truly likes you by when your jokes start to offend. This is when she will start to distance herself and not even display a smirk whenever you create a link of some kind. With her, you can gradually begin to put some of these jokes into practice, and this will be an excellent method for testing the waters if she keeps laughing at these more intimate and intrusive jokes. The certainty that there is unquestionably some kind of allure that is occurring now, a competent man will gradually becoming increasingly intimate with. These jokes are meant to push boundaries, and often this will occur when she is ready to take number 6 already. She ignores your dating errors. The world is extremely competitive, and many people frequently wish to date or fall in love. In a romantic relationship, because this leads to men frequently walk a tight line between strain and must tread carefully, and anytime they make a mess, someone is already up there who is preparing to replace you and make her. You notice the natural trend in a contented woman includes ladies withdrawing any time, or when a man commits a mistake, something happens, intentionally to find out if he pursues women, because if a man pursues her, he has lost previously, and that she is now completely authority over the partnership and the encounter, while women often ignore the errors made by men they truly want, and because the allure is so, she frequently gets high and breezes over some of these errors to confirm that you don't feel like you've made a mistake. As you can see, women are highly perceptive, and they'll notice you right away. Sentiments, which is why they refuse to too much focus on your errors. You can be certain every time you observe this, that she is undoubtedly intrigued, but after you've messed up and she begins to hold you responsible for this, yes, you will have to just accept it. You can offer an apology based on the incident's seriousness, but you want to brush it for the most part. Beneath the table, if she begins tugging, just walk away from her, because this is only she asks you to take test number 7. Meet her pals on the natural way now. Relationships are frequently arranged by men. Asking ladies to go out and spend time with they and their female buddies seldom ever have to be the one who makes plans, and this is among the subtlest things that many guys are only aware of after the fact. But women have their own friends, and they frequently fear their friends will criticize their significant other, or that he might not be a good fit for the group. This is the reason it is. It's crucial to recognize the fact that she might ask you to hang out. This is an obvious indication among her pals that she has faith in you, and it will also show that she is prepared to commit. This level of dedication is considerably more profound, more physical as well, regardless if of you. You are powerless over it, yet if you can win them over, you will have insiders who end up being your wingmen. A piece of advice that you should follow heart is to understand that no of occurs every time she gives you her trust. Inside her private life, which includes you have a chance, family and friends. The 8th is those texts you get all the time, maybe considering whether she wants to share a bed with you or not, must primarily deal with the consequences that arise when you physically encounter one another. However, this isn't the case. Women don't simply imply anything, you see, feeling closeness when they are in close proximity to seeing you, but many people also decide to, by texting, you may see the primary cause, due to the fact that certain texts are an excellent method of measuring your distance ready to leave without fear of rejection. In person, women consistently select the least difficult route, and this is how they'll attempt to determine whether there is a chance that things could turn into physical. You may observe that she makes an effort to text you in an attempt to flirt, and possibly even give a deeper glimpse of her insecurities. Are frequently these women's insecurities that drive them to be with you. Nonetheless, you shouldn't attempt to stop. Every one of them is quite adorable. In addition, when a woman is insecure, increases your power when you begin utilizing these fears to your advantage benefit. You'll also observe that you acquire a great deal of control over the relationship, because she desires to feel you can be sure that you are safe and comforted, that she will grant you your wish. In order to ensure that you stay now in the image, this shouldn't be. We don't encourage males to string because of abuse. Women with no desire to. Talking about dating. Number 9. One of the things that males do well is intimacy. Frequently make mistakes is that they frequently believe that women don't discuss as much closeness as males, but this is not. In this instance, women are just as more likely than men to discuss intimacy, and whenever she's willing to entertain, she is open to have such a chat. Get down on your knees. Women will frequently take risks in order to see if you're genuinely open to. Something similar is even taking place. Whenever they ascertain that there is, they will either anticipate or show some interest in. You should keep doing this, or they will keep exploring further to learn more and more personal discussions. When women begin discussing intimacy and what they truly want to do, what they are assessing your level of receptivity as. In most cases, the man's job is to check if everything is ready now by doing this. This can occur by text or in person, messaging, but it is much more trustworthy. When it takes place in person and is visible, body language number 10, and her mood truly initiates contact. While from an early age, women are informed that the man ought to be the one making in actuality, the times for first movements have changed. So much has changed in the world that women wish to go hunting now, but it all depends on if the woman is making the initial move. It can be the finest indication that you could hope for, and whether what occurs will largely rely on you. If you're prepared to follow the flow, she can truly take the lead in interaction. But you must be aware of, at some time you will require to finally take the initiative as well, even but it's obvious that she's making the move. The ultimate indication of attraction. That's the man's way of doing things. Must conduct such an encounter in order to each time you observe that she's making the first action you ought to attempt over the circumstances, and you'll have your encounters whenever she begins acting in ways that you don't need any additional indications, but reaching this point could need the following 2 indicators. She calls you out on number 11 when you converse with other females. This is among the most difficult indicators, but any time a lady exhibits jealousy of some kind, she fervently desires you, and she undoubtedly doesn't want to tell anyone about you. Otherwise, this can occur organically, particularly if you have a natural flirty nature, or it might occur when she simply feels envious personality type that is not typical. When any time you and a female begin to see one another, it doesn't imply that you should refrain from speaking to other women. Observe that males with a lot of options have self-assurance, and they frequently employ this self-assurance in their daily lives to ensure their continued attractiveness. This feeling of strength is what frequently makes ladies envious every time you speak to. You shouldn't let someone dump your charm, and we advise you to keep going. Being the individual you must be in an effort to make her feel increasingly drawn to you in the event that she is. You can just reassure her if she's envious, but rules should never be accepted when she begins advising you on what you ought to. Therefore, you shouldn't see a man who follows his own set of laws in life, which is much more appealing, and women are constantly drawn to spend time with someone who sets the rules. In his opinion, if there are any misunderstandings, should be left alone. Don't respond to number 12. You have her. To finally dress up more than usual. Dressing up isn't the only thing ladies do. If it's not to impress someone, this can be a member of their family or a friend. Members or perhaps a person they greatly admiration and regard for the work you observe. Women typically follow the dress code. But when a person they look up to is with, they are prepared to contribute a small amount. More work, you'll undoubtedly see a baseline throughout the initial dates. This ought to provide you with a sense of her typical attire, yet when you observe how this has grown to be, you're even more chic and trendy, is certain that she is now intrigued. Remember that this suggests that you are continuing to engage in the same types of dates. You will also observe that she is going to display more cleavage, which is a method of attempting to entice you as well. You wish to keep an eye out for these minor adjustments as a method of determining if she is prepared to make a commitment or take action that is more gravely. The significance of recognizing the symptoms that women exhibit will assist you before they sleep with you. Enhanced timing and real bed success. It does need a great deal of labor and effort to learn, but it ought to be worthwhile in the end if you're curious about how you can boost your chances by making sure to watch the following video to learn how to touch a woman to pique her interest.